Incredible moment, single dad saves dying stranger, discovers she's his CEO's hidden daughter. Jake had barely stepped out of his old pickup truck when he noticed her lying in the parking lot, motionless. His heart raced. Adrenaline kicked in, he dropped the grocery bags, their contents spilling out. What could do this to someone so young? He sprinted over, the world around him blurring. A woman, maybe in her 30s, her silk blouse ruffled, her expensive purse cast aside like an afterthought. His hands trembling, Jake checked for a pulse. Nothing. No time to lose. He called to a couple of onlookers for help, then performed CPR as he willed his body to respond. Come on. Breathe. Memories crashed in like waves: his father's struggles, working double shifts, coming home exhausted. He remembered listening to his dad's stories of sacrifice. Jake couldn't fail Lily. She deserved better, a life full of promise, not burdened by the weight of legacy. He pressed, strained, praying he could turn this moment around. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the woman gasped, reviving with a start. Jake's chest swelled with mixed relief and fear. This incredible moment burned into his memory, a raw act of humanity. He couldn't shake the memory of his father's quiet desperation every time he thought about his own daughter. Lily's laughter filled his mind, giving him hope in a world of uncertainties. As Sarah, the woman, was taken to the local hospital, Jake learned the shocking truth. She was the estranged daughter of his CEO, a man known for digging his heels in the sand for success, money blazing like a cold fire. Why was Sarah out here alone? Lost in her privileged world yet trapped in its complexities. The lights of the hospital flickered as Jake stood, battling a whirlwind of emotions. Was she really that different from him? Days passed, and how quickly they turned into whispers through the community. Some praised Jake's bravery. Others whispered behind his back, riddling his heart with doubts. At backyard barbecues, conversations spiraled: was he out of line, getting involved with someone of such status? Class lines drew tighter, and Jake felt pressure mount like a storm. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. After their unexpected encounter, Sarah showed up at the local bakery one afternoon, flour dusted in her hair, searching for the best chocolate cupcakes. Can I help? She asked, her voice ringing warmly in the air. Something pulsed between them, a connection ignited by shared challenges but shadowed by community reluctance. Jake found himself smiling easily around her, a rare flicker of joy in his otherwise demanding life. But the pressure only intensified. Each shared laugh drew judgment like moths to a flame, reminding Jake of his past and the disapproval that loomed heavy. Did he dare fight for both families to help Sarah feel loved and save his own life from the echoes of poverty? What if their bonds shattered under the weight of perceptions? As he prepared to defend their connection against all odds, he realized the stakes: love, loyalty, and courage would pave their uncertain path. All that mattered now was what came next. What choice would he make, and how would it shape their futures? The next few weeks felt like a dance on a tightrope for Jake. He was caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Each afternoon, a text from Sarah would brighten his phone screen, lifting the weight pressing on his chest. Her messages were casual at first, updates on her recovery, small snippets about work, and an unexpected fascination with local art. But beneath that lightness, Jake sensed a pull: something deep, something real. One Saturday, after a long shift at the garage, he found himself pulling into the parking lot of their favorite coffee shop. He spotted Sarah sitting outside, her hair catching the sunlight. In that moment, everything else faded away. They talked about everything: their hopes, fears, and dreams, as if the world around them ceased to exist. I never would have imagined meeting someone like you here, Sarah said, her eyes sparkling with sincerity. "You saved my life, Jake." "Yeah, but the truth is, it felt right. Like I had to be there," he admitted, a warmth spreading through him. "What were you doing out there alone, anyway?" Her smile faltered, and Jake sensed the shadow of the past crossing her face. "I guess I was trying to escape, the expectations, the pressure. My father has always wanted me to fit into this perfect little box." She tilted her head, looking past him. The weight of her truth hung in the air. "It's hard to be the person everyone wants you to be," he said softly, as he instinctively reached across the table to take her hand, his thumb brushing against her knuckles. Would she ever understand what he was going through, the struggles, the balancing act of being both dad and provider? He wondered if this bond really could withstand the scrutiny of their worlds colliding. Just then, a couple of familiar faces strolled by, glancing at Jake and Sarah with a mix of curiosity and disdain. He felt their eyes bore into him, igniting a familiar pang of inadequacy. His heartbeat quickened. He recognized the guy from the neighborhood barbecue and a few of the others murmuring about him. The judgments were there, like shadows dancing at the edge of his vision. "Are they?" Sarah's voice trailed off, her expression shifting, almost protective. "Don't let them ruin this moment, Jake." He forced a smile, though a knot tightened in his gut. "Easy for you to say," he replied, trying to sound light-hearted. "Your family's name is on a building downtown." A flicker of understanding crossed her face, and she squeezed his hand. "Just because they're important doesn't mean we have to live for them." That moment left Jake feeling hopeful and heavy, an underlying question surfacing in his mind. Could he really break free from the judgment of his community for something he felt in his bones? Was it worth the risk to fight for what he and Sarah could create together? As the coffee shop buzzed softly in the background, Jake came face to face with an emotional crossroads. The world outside loomed large, full of opinions and expectations. Could love flourish amidst judgment? And would his heart be able to survive the scrutiny that awaited him? Unbeknownst to Jake, a tired but determined figure watched from a distance, already a few steps into a revelation that could change everything for them both. The moment was brewing. And waiting in the wings was a family secret ready to unravel, threatening both of their worlds as they knew them. Was it worth uncovering? Would love be strong enough? Jake sat there, his hand still in Sarah's, while his mind raced. The whispers from the past, both his and hers, loomed like storm clouds, ready to drench them in doubt. He stole a glance at her, her expression a mixture of determination and vulnerability. The essence of their connection felt electric, yet a part of him wondered if they were building on shaky ground. "Let us get out of here," he said suddenly, breaking the spell of their cafe sanctuary. Sarah raised an eyebrow, her smile curious. "Where to?" "I don't know. Just anywhere. Let us escape the prying eyes for a bit." She hesitated but then nodded, the tiny spark of adventure igniting within her. They slipped out of the coffee shop and walked down the street, free from the weight of judgment at least for the moment. The sun slipped low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the city. As they wandered, they found themselves at a small art gallery, an eclectic space tucked away from the bustling streets. The walls were filled with vivid colors, abstract forms that seemed to dance and breathe as they moved closer. On instinct, Jake took Sarah's hand again, this time more firmly. "Do you like this stuff?" he asked, pointing to a particularly bold piece. Sarah chuckled softly. "I love it. It feels freeing. It's like each piece is a story waiting to be told, don't you think?" Her enthusiasm was contagious, and he found himself leaning in, interested not just in her perspective but in the way her eyes sparkled. They moved through the gallery slowly, discussing each piece as if unpacking their own stories. With every shared laugh, the weight of judgment began to lift, and hope slipped back in. Jake felt lighter, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was coming. The question of how their worlds would merge nagged at him. The secret that had been poised to disrupt their lives danced in the back of his mind, but for now, he resisted it. As they stood before a massive mural, vibrant and alive, Sarah turned to him, her voice earnest. "I know it's complicated, Jake," she began. "But we can define our own path, right?" He searched her face for certainty, a glimmer of belief he feared he lacked. "Yeah, but, it's not just us," he said quietly. "What if they don't accept us? What if my past catches up and messes up everything?" A flicker of resolve crossed her face. "Then we confront it together. I don't want to hide anymore. And I'm tired of pretending I'm someone I'm not just to fit in." Just then, a familiar figure wandered in, the guy from the neighborhood barbecue, the one whose judgment had stung. He locked eyes with Jake, an unspoken tension hanging in the air. Jake's heart raced, and instinctively, he stepped a little closer to Sarah. This could unravel things faster than he wanted. "Small world, huh? Didn't he expect to see you here," the guy said with a smirk, his voice dripping with judgment. Jake felt his blood boil, but Sarah squeezed his hand slightly. Her gaze remained steady on him, silently urging him to rise above it. "Yeah, it's a free country," Jake replied, forcing a casual tone. "We can choose our company." The guy scoffed, taking a step back, his expression hardening. "Sure, if that's how you want to play it." As he walked away, Jake sensed a shift in the air, a wave of tension crashing over them. He looked at Sarah, her expression reflecting both horror and determination. "What's next?" she asked quietly, as if she knew they had just crossed an unseen line. In that moment, Jake understood. The struggle wasn't just against the opinions of others but also against their own fears. Could they really face this together? The future felt uncertain, but one undeniable truth surfaced: they were no longer alone in their fight. With the echo of the outsider's smirk behind them, they made a silent pact to join their voices and stand firm against whatever awaited them. But as they stepped outside, Jake could feel the clouds closing in again, the storm brewing just beyond the horizon. As shadows lengthened with the setting sun, he couldn't shake the feeling that the revelation waiting in the wings was closer than ever. Would confronting the truth bring them closer together or tear them apart? The air outside felt electric, crackling with uncertainty. Jake glanced at Sarah, her hand still clasped in his, and he felt a surge of support from her grip. They stepped onto the sidewalk, the city alive around them with chatter and laughter, yet all Jake could hear was the dull thrum of his own heartbeat, echoing the tension of the moment. "Let us not let him ruin this," Sarah said, her voice firm. "We have each other, and that counts more than anything else." Jake nodded, but doubt flickered in his mind like a stubborn flame. He glanced at the retreating figure of the guy from the gallery, who still seemed to linger in the air, a shadow that threatened to cloud their budding connection. "I don't want to drag you into my baggage, Sarah." "Jake, it's not baggage if I'm choosing to carry it with you," she replied, a soft determination in her tone. "We have the right to explore this, whatever this is, without fear." He looked into her eyes, seeing the strength beneath her vulnerability, and just for a moment, he felt everything could work out. So, he squeezed her hand back and suggested, "How about we take a walk in the park? I need to clear my head." She smiled, her cheeks brightening. "That sounds perfect." As they walked, the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the horizon in hues of orange and pink. The park was alive with the sounds of children playing, the laughter echoing like music that drowned out the remaining doubts in his mind. They strolled past families with picnics and couples sitting on benches, lost in their own worlds. "Look at them," Sarah said, her gaze drifting to a young couple sharing an ice cream. "They seem so happy, don't they?" Jake studied them for a moment before noting the carefree, blissful expressions on their faces. "Yeah, they do." It was a picture of normal, one he longed to chase after but worried might be out of reach. "Do you think people can start fresh?" she asked suddenly, turning to him, her eyes searching. "Like, really let go of their past?" He pondered her question, feeling the weight of his own history pressing heavily on him. "I want to believe we can. It's just harder than it sounds," he replied, a hint of sadness creeping into his voice. She stopped walking and faced him. What if I told you some parts of our pasts are what makes us stronger? You're not defined by what has happened to you, Jake. You're defined by how you choose to act now. He swallowed hard, her words hitting him like a cold splash of water. You make it sound so easy. Nothing worth having ever is, Sarah replied quietly, stepping closer. The warmth of her presence wrapped around him, and for the first time that day, his heart felt lighter. What if we really don't know how to navigate this? He murmured, uncertainty creeping back in. Then we find a way together. We'll shift and turn until we figure it out, I promise. Her gaze remained unwavering, and he found comfort in the fierce trust shining through. They resumed their walk, Jake buoyed by what felt like a budding understanding, a partnership forming not just in words but through shared intent. But just then, his phone vibrated violently in his pocket, pulling his thoughts away from Sarah. He fished it out, a wave of dread crashing down as he read the message. It was from his mother. The subject line made his stomach drop, urgent family matter. What's the matter? Sarah asked, concern etching her features. I have to deal with something. It's my family. She stepped back, her voice softening. Do you need me to come with you? He hesitated. I don't know if you want to step into that mess. I'm all in for this, she asserted firmly. Just tell me what you need. The sincerity in her tone steadied him, yet the fear of what was coming gnawed at him. Behind the urgent message, he felt another storm brewing, and this one threatened to pull Sarah into the chaos he had spent so long trying to escape. As he took a deep breath, Jake realized the stakes were higher than he anticipated. This was the clarity he had been looking for. He had to confront not just his past, but also what lay ahead for the two of them. But could he face his family and, in the process, protect Sarah from the fallout? As he glanced back at her, a mix of fear and determination coursed through his veins. Would bringing her into this world widen the rift between them, or could it somehow bring them closer? The feeling that something monumental was about to happen loomed over him like a heavy storm cloud. Okay, let us go, he finally said, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Together. And with that, they set off into the unknown, both of them on the edge of an unforeseeable path, unaware of how deeply it would intertwine their lives once they stepped into that family storm. The drive was tense, each mile stretching their unspoken fears and hopes tighter like a coiled spring. Jake gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white, while Sarah sat beside him, her presence a calming light. The city lights blurred by in the evening haze, but Jake's mind was far from the lure of adventure. Do you want to talk about what happened? Sarah finally broke the silence, her voice gentle but firm. Jake took a moment to gather himself. It's just my family hasn't been the same since Dad left when I was a kid. He took off, and it's been a mess ever since. Sometimes I don't even recognize them. Have you talked to them? He shook his head. Not since last year. Mom's been trying, but I just couldn't deal with it. I feel like I'm stuck between wanting to help her and wanting to protect myself. Is protecting yourself worth losing your family? Sarah's question sat heavily between them. After a long pause, he admitted, I don't know. I don't even know if I can help her. I'm scared I'll get sucked back into their chaos. Then start small, she suggested. You can be there for your mom without letting it pull you under. Just tell her what you need, tell her you're not ready for everything. He glanced at her, surprised by her insight. You think I can do that? Absolutely, she encouraged with a soft smile, warmth spreading through him. You have the power to set boundaries, Jake. Just like you did with that guy at the gallery. He felt a spark of confidence. Yeah, I guess so. It's just been a long road. I always thought I had to carry it all alone. But you don't have to anymore. She placed her hand gently on his leg, anchoring him amidst the storm. You've already started building something new with me. You're not alone in this fight. The car rolled up to a small, worn-out house, the kind that seemed exhausted from years of struggles. It was familiar territory, past arguments flickering through his mind like old photographs. Jake's heart raced, the throbbing in his chest fast and furious as he parked. He turned to Sarah, meeting her determined gaze, and felt a swell of love and gratitude. "Are you ready?" she asked, soft but firm as ever. He took a deep breath, letting it out slowly. "Yeah. Ready or not, here we go." They stepped out into the night, the weight of the unknown heavy in the air. As they walked toward the front porch, a familiar ache flooded over him. He remembered shouting, the tears shed, and the times he felt utterly alone. Jake reached for the door handle, hesitating. What if it's worse than I remember? What if they haven't changed? Then you adapt. You reflect. You live. Just keep us in mind what's best for us both, she urged, holding his gaze steadily. He nodded, feeling strengthened by her words and her steadfastness. Just then, the door creaked open, revealing his mother, older and drawn but with a hint of warmth in her tired eyes. "Jake!" she exclaimed, her voice cracking. "You came, Mom," he replied, the words feeling foreign yet necessary. "Please, come in." Jake glanced at Sarah, who nodded encouragingly. Together, they stepped into the dimly lit space, past shadows of the past and into a new conversation yet to unfold. But as they stepped inside, a loud crash echoed from the back of the house, followed by a shout that made Jake's heart drop. "Mom!" What was that? Jake rushed forward, his mind racing with the urgency of what came next. That he felt Sarah right behind him, her presence a steadying force in the chaos. But as they crossed the threshold into uncertainty, he realized he might be facing more than just his family's issues. Something within him stirred, warning him this night would reshape everything they thought they knew. What lay ahead was more than family drama. It felt like the opening of a door to a darker secret that had stayed hidden for far too long. Jake's heart pounded as he reached the kitchen doorway, the sound of shattered glass and a muffled cry slicing through his thoughts. All the fears he had been holding at bay came crashing in like a tidal wave. This wasn't just a family gathering, this was a crossing into a tempest he hadn't expected. "Mom!" he shouted, striding into the kitchen. There, amid the remnants of broken dishes, stood his mother, trembling but holding herself upright. She was trying to catch her breath, pain etched across her face. "Jake! I'm okay, I just slipped," she stammered, eyes wide, clearly trying to mask the truth. That he stepped closer, the chaotic scene clawing at his stomach. "What happened? Are you hurt?" She shook her head, but the quickness of her denial made him uneasy. Was it just a too slippery floor, or something deeper? A glance at Sarah confirmed his instinct. She was poised for action, concern tightening her features. "Let's get you cleaned up," Jake said, reaching for her arm. She flinched, and his heart sank. "Mom, please, just tell me the truth." Another crash echoed from a different part of the house, and Sarah moved instinctively toward the sound, her courage undeniable. "I'll check it out," she said, moving deeper into the home while Jake's attention remained fixed on his mother. "Jake, you don't need to worry about me," she insisted, her voice wobbly but unwilling to break. "I just had a rough day. The stress, it's been much." "Mom, we both know that's not true," he said, frustration spilling out. "You can't do this alone anymore. Not after everything. Not when we're trying to make a change." Tears shimmered in her eyes, an unsettling mix of sorrow and defiance. I'm trying to hold it all together. But at what cost?" His voice softened, realizing this moment was different. It wasn't just about him anymore. "I came here to help, and you need to let me in." She looked down, her hands shaking. "You don't see how broken it all is. I don't want to drag you into this, into me. You're my mother. No matter what happened back then, I still care," he fired back. "I want to know what's really going on." As if on cue, Sarah returned from the other room, her brow furrowed. "Jake, I think you should come see this." Reluctantly, he turned, leaving his mother's uncertain gaze behind. Maybe he could still fix this, at least with Sarah by his side. They walked toward the sound, Jake's gut tightening with every step. In the small living room, the scene unfolded. A broken picture frame lay shattered by the feet of a man he barely recognized, a neighbor from decades past, now looking disheveled. "I was just looking for you, Mrs. Carter," he stammered, eyes darting nervously. "I came to talk about an important matter." "What matter?" Jake replied warily, feeling the tension snap at the edges of his words. The man hesitated, breaths heavy with hesitation. "It's about your father. I thought you should know he is sick." Time stopped, Jake's heart suspended in the air, an unbearable silence wrapping them like a shroud. "What do you mean, sick?" The weight of his mother's past rushed forward, threatening to engulf them all. Sarah's hand found his, grounding him. The truth was out there, lurking, ready to spill into their lives. Jake felt the gravity of it all, fear and rage mixing. He wasn't prepared to step back into the chaos of his father's world, but could he really walk away again? As the man cleared his throat to explain, Jake's mind whirled. Could this be the moment that opened the door to every unresolved wound? His gaze flickered to his mother, seeing her pain reflected in the lines of her face. Maybe, just maybe, this was their chance to break the cycle, even if it meant confronting the ghosts of their past. Could they handle the truth that lay ahead, or would it become another tangle in their already strained lives? The tension in the room thickened, every heartbeat echoing with possibilities. What they learned next might change everything. Would they come together or fall apart in the shadows of their history? Jake's thoughts raced as he forced himself to focus on the man before him. The neighbor's sunken cheeks and trembling hands were a stark reminder that not all news heralded joy. "What do you mean, sick?" Jake repeated, urgency creeping into his voice. The man took a step closer, his eyes darting between the three of them. It's serious. I saw him last week. He's not well. I had to come, to let you know." A cold wave of dread washed over Jake. The last time he laid eyes on his father, the man had been a blur of anger and hurt. Could it be that life had led him back here, forcing him to confront all that he tried to forget? The disappointment in thinking of his father's failures cut deep. "What exactly do you mean?" Jake pressed, shaking off the weight of his emotions. His mother stood behind him, her eyes wide, disbelief evident. "He's in the hospital," the neighbor finally said, voice quaking. "They think it might be cancer. You should go see him. It's important." Jake's fists clenched as anger unfurled inside him. "Why didn't you tell us sooner? Why now?" "Jake." Sarah's soft voice cut through the storm of his thoughts, urging him to contain the fire building as he faced the stranger. "I know it's a lot," the man stammered. "But your mother wanted to keep it private. I only thought you should hear it from someone who cares." "Cares?" Jake echoed incredulously. "Cares about what?" Jake looked over his shoulder at his mother, half expecting her to crumble under the weight of truth. But she surprised him. There was strength in her gaze, a push to confront it all. "You can't run from him forever," she finally said, voice steady yet fragile. "This may be your chance to find closure." Closure. The word bounced around the living room like an unwelcomed guest. Jake remembered the nights he'd dreamt of being freed from the family ties that weighed him down. But what if this was just another trap waiting to ensnare him in memories he wished to forget? "What do you want to do, Jake?" Sarah asked, her hand still holding his tightly. She sensed the battle raging within him. A deep breath surged from his chest, an attempt to banish the chaos. "I want to know, but I don't want to get hurt again. I can't go into this blindly." The man shifted uncomfortably. "He's not the same as before, I promise. He's sick and listen." Jake cut him off, the fire in his voice surprising even him. "You don't know anything. You don't know what he did, what we suffered." His mother's hand fell to her side, and she turned, visibly shaken by Jake's outburst. "Mom. I didn't mean it like that," he hurried to say, guilt clawing at his insides. But her expression was a mixture of anger and pain, and he felt the weight of disappointment settle between them. "Don't you see?" she said, her voice cracking. "Whatever he did, whatever he meant to us, it was never just black and white." Silence filled the room, heavy with unspoken truths. The neighbors shuffled awkwardly, the atmosphere thick with unresolved tension. Jake could feel his mother's hurt, the years of pent-up emotions bubbling just below the surface. "Maybe this is our chance," Sarah said gently. "To face everything together. You can't do this alone." Jake closed his eyes, battling the urge to retreat. Could he really face his father again? After all these years? And what if trying to heal one wound reopened another? "Jake," Sarah whispered, "you've been running for too long." The thought weighed heavy on him. Could they find healing in the rubble of their family, or would it all crumble back into chaos? With the man still watching, holding their history in his hands, Jake knew whatever happened next would either stitch them together or shatter them completely. "What if it doesn't go the way we want?" he asked, voice barely audible, uncertainty lacing his question. "Then at least we tried," she replied, resolute. Jake nodded slowly, determination tempered by fear. They needed to confront the pain, or it would consume them, but would that pain turn into a lifeline or a noose? As the silence settled again, they all knew one thing: the next steps would change everything forever. "Let us go see him," Jake finally said. The decision hung in the air, a leap into uncertainty, but deep down, he wondered, could they truly escape the shadows of their past, or would the family ties drag them down as they delved deeper into the truth? The hospital loomed ahead, a stark contrast to the vibrant life that pulsed around it. Jake's heart raced as they entered, the sterile smell of antiseptic filling his lungs, reminding him how fragile life could be. He felt trapped between two worlds, the anger of his past and the hope of what might come next. "Are you ready?" Sarah whispered, squeezing his hand softly. Her warmth felt like a lifeline, grounding him as they walked through the automatic doors. "No," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I have to be." The knot in his stomach twisted tighter. They approached the reception desk, where a nurse, distracted by her computer, hardly glanced up. Jake cleared his throat, forcing his thoughts into words. "We're here to see Thomas Harrison." "Yes, my father." The nurse looked up, her expression shifting to professional concern. "Room 302. Down the hall, take a left," she instructed, her tone clipped. As they made their way, every step felt heavier than the last. Memories flashed his father's shouting, the slamming of doors, and even the laughter during the rare moments they smiled together. But they all felt like ghosts now, shadowy remnants of a life he thought he'd left behind. When they reached the door, Jake hesitated, his breaths coming quicker. "What if he doesn't even recognize me?" he said, panic rising in his chest. "He will," Sarah reassured him, but her eyes told a different story. She was just as unsure. With a resolute shove, Jake pushed the door open. The room was dim, the curtains drawn against the sunlight. It smelled of antiseptic, wrapped in the soft beeping of machines. And there, lying frail and fragile, was his father. Jake's breath hitched. This hollow shell with sunken cheeks was a far cry from the man who had loomed large in his childhood. The anger faded, replaced by a rush of other feelings: hurt, sadness, a longing for connection. "Dad?" The word felt foreign on his tongue. The figure in the bed stirred, eyes fluttering open, cloudy and unfocused. He turned his head slowly, a wave of confusion washing over his features as he locked eyes with Jake. There it was, a flicker of recognition. "Jake?" The voice came out weak and raspy, almost a question rather than a statement. "It's me." Before he could brace himself, his father's expression cracked. He hesitated, his eyes shimmering with something that looked like regret. "I never wanted you to see me like this." Jake swallowed hard, heart thumping loudly in his ears. "You think I wanted to see you at all after everything?" The words were out before he could stop them. But they were true. A silence hung thick between them, filled with years of unspoken words. The beeping of the heart monitor filled the void, unsettling yet oddly grounding. Jake turned to Sarah for strength, and she nodded, offering him a quiet encouragement. "Why didn't you tell us, Dad?" Jake pressed, an edge of desperation in his voice. "About the cancer. About being sick." His father's face twisted with pain, physical and emotional. "I didn't want you to worry. I thought I'd make it through this, like always." "Like always?" Jake laughed bitterly. "You've never been good at that." The disappointment in his own voice gnawed at him. His father looked defeated, the weight of his past heavy on his frail shoulders. But in that moment, something shifted in Jake. He realized they were both victims of their history. "Maybe," the elder Harrison murmured, a breath of hope escaping his lips. "Maybe it's time for us to talk." Talk. The word hung in the air, like a promise of something more. Maybe they could confront the truth, start to heal the wounds that had festered for too long, but as Jake prepared to speak, the door pushed open again. A nurse entered with a clipboard, her presence snapping him back to reality. "Mr. Harrison, it's time for your medication," she prompted gently. "Go," Jake's father urged, his voice barely a whisper. "We'll talk after your sister leaves." "Sister?" The word caught Jake off guard. Something stirred inside him, curiosity tangled with disbelief. With his heart pounding, Jake watched as the nurse handed over the medications. The moment stretched between them, anticipation thickening the air. Had he stepped into a mystery deeper than he realized? Was there more to discover than just the pain of the past? "Wait," Jake breathed, feeling the ground shift beneath him. What was his father about to reveal? As he stood on the precipice of revelation, Jake felt a rush of urgency, just as every moment before had led him here. Where would this new twist take him? The nurse gently placed a small cup of pills on the bedside table, looking between Jake and his father with a practiced professionalism. The elder Harrison was staring at Jake with a mix of fear and vulnerability that sparked something in Jake's chest. "Sister?" he echoed, feeling the weight of the word like a stone drop into a dark pond. His father nodded slowly. "Your sister, Jess. I should have told you, but I didn't." "Didn't what?" Jake pressed, irritation threading through his voice. "Didn't want me to know about her? Or didn't want me to know at all?" "Jake, it's complicated," his father croaked out, every word appearing to sap his energy. "Complicated?" Jake felt his heart race. "You've been hiding a sister from me, Dad. That's more than complicated. That's..." The nurse, sensing the tension, took a step back, her eyes flicking between the two men. "I'll give you a moment," she said softly, and quietly slipped out of the room, the door creaking shut behind her. Jake shifted his gaze to his father. "You think this is easy for me? I just walked in here to face you, to deal with everything, and now you drop this on me?" His father closed his eyes briefly, as if collecting himself. "I know I should be told you sooner. I just didn't know how. I didn't want to create more pain, especially with everything happening. I thought maybe we could make it through." "Like always," Jake shot back. He felt anger bubbling to the surface, but it was mixed with something deeper, confusion and a sense of betrayal. "Jess is your half-sister," his father whispered, his voice cracking. "Your mother and I had her before everything fell apart. We thought we could keep it safe, keep her away from the chaos." A rush of disbelief made Jake's head spin. "So, she just exists. And I had no idea." She's not an easy topic," his father replied, each word a struggle, like he was trying to balance on the edge of a steep cliff. "Jess isn't just your sister, she's my heart. She's the last piece of my life I kept from you, but it wasn't because I didn't want you to know her. I was trying to protect you." "Protect me from what?" Jake's voice shook now. "From the truth. You think knowing about her would have made things worse?" You've already done a great job at screwing things up. Tears threatened to spill from his eyes, not just from anger but from the raw emotional energy swirling within him. He had thought they could make progress, that the conversation would clear some of the years of tension, but now he felt adrift, staring into an even more complicated mess. I'm not asking for forgiveness. His father's eyes glistened with unshed tears. I just want a chance to explain. To introduce you to her, if you're willing. Introduce me? The words felt bitter on Jake's tongue. What if I don't want to meet her? What if I don't want any of this? A heavy silence fell, the kind that felt suffocating. Jake's heart raced. He had always felt like an only child, the void left by an absent sister ghosted through his life. Jake, his father said softly, as if anticipating an impending storm, I won't let my past ruin your future. But Jake wasn't sure what he wanted to do now. All this time, he thought he knew his story. What's so special about her? He snapped, unable to keep the confrontation at bay. His father leaned closer, his voice low and filled with a heavy sincerity. Because she has a right to know you. And maybe, you need each other more than you realize. Those words hung in the air, heavy with possibility. Jake's mind raced, torn between anger, confusion, and an unfamiliar pang of longing. Surely, could meeting Jess really shift anything? As he opened his mouth to respond, the door creaked again. Another nurse entered, interrupting whatever moment they had been building. Mr. Harrison, we need to monitor your vitals, she said briskly, and Jake felt a rush of frustration surge through him. But before he could process his feelings further, another revelation hovered on the edge of his mind. If Jess were out there, what kind of life had she lived? And how could he have missed this chapter of his own story? Dad, he began, looking back at his father, the words bubbling up like a newly formed truth, if I meet her, I need you there, to help us both figure this out. Memories of laughter and shared secrets suddenly felt like a distant dream. Would opening this door lead to a new beginning or just deeper scars? As hope mingled with hesitation, Jake realized that he was standing at a crossroads. What awaited him on the other side of the door? With a deep breath, Jake felt the air shift around him. This was a moment he had never expected and yet desperately needed. The door closed behind the nurse and once again, he was alone with his father, a man he scarcely recognized in this vulnerable state. You want to introduce me to her, huh? Just like that? Jake's voice held a mixture of bitterness and disbelief. His father winced, the weight of every word heavy in the room. I know it seems impossible right now, but if you give her a chance. I think you'll see what I see. She's been through a lot, just as we all have. Jake shook his head, conflicting emotions swirling within him. Could he really put aside the pain, the anger that had been festering? I don't even know what to say to her. He shouted, frustration pouring out. You can't just expect everything to magically be okay because of some half-sister you kept hidden. The old man's eyes glistened, his quiet pain mirrored Jake's own. I buried it deep, Jake. I thought isolating her would protect her, but perhaps I only hurt her in different ways. I don't want that for you. I was wrong before. I've learned that keeping secrets only brings sadness. For a moment, silence hung thick in the air, and Jake's thoughts raced. The memories of his childhood, the chaos, the void of a sister he never knew threatened to swallow him whole. He had built a wall around his heart, afraid of disappointment. But Sarah's words echoed in his mind. You can't run from him forever. I'm scared, Jake admitted, his voice trembling. I'm so tired of being scared. I don't want this to drive us apart again. With surprising tenderness, his father extended a shaking hand. Then, let us take this one step at a time. If meeting Jess feels like too much, then we'll start with talking. Just the two of us. Jake hesitated but then remembered Sarah's unwavering support. He needed to confront this for himself, for her, and for the chance of a real family bond. Okay. I'll meet her. His father's face lit up with a fragile smile, but it flickered as doubt crossed his features. "I want to be honest with you about everything. I'll tell you all the truths I've neglected." Jake felt fear and anticipation swirl within him. He faced the ghost of his father's past, but perhaps this meeting would lead to healing. "Let us do it then. Let's meet Jess." As those words left his mouth, a sense of determination washed over him. The looming storm of his family's history felt less daunting. They were both forging a path toward connection, and that spark of hope ignited something new deep within him. Just then, the door swung open again, and Sarah stepped in, her eyes bright with encouragement. "How did it go?" she asked, reading the tension melded with resolution on Jake's face. "We're meeting my sister," he said, the words flowing with unexpected strength. "But it starts with my dad and me figuring this out." Sarah beamed. "That's wonderful, Jake. You're taking control." Jake felt a rush of gratitude for her presence. "Thanks for being here, Sarah. I really need you." Confident now in their partnership, they squeezed hands, a pact formed from the very foundation of resilience and vulnerability. With the weight of familial shadows slowly lifting, Jake wondered about Jess, the sister he never knew, the chance for understanding, acceptance, and renewal. As they prepared to leave the room, his father looked back at him, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "Whatever we face, we'll do it together." Jake believed him. Together, just maybe that was enough to forge a new future for all of them. They stepped out of the hospital room, hearts aligned in one shared mission. No more living in the shadows of secrets. This was their opportunity to create a different story, one filled with transparency, courage, and a bond forged by wounds but healed through shared love. And as they walked down that corridor, each step felt lighter than the last, hopeful and steady, ready to discover not just who Jess was, but who they all could be together. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support matters. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Your love for this channel makes a real difference.